What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am, of course, your host, Reckless Rex Ruger, a.k.a. Diamond Dave Lee Roth Jr., as you can plainly see. Undeniable that you're looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by a million fans, Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn! We got another good one today. Joined, as always, by the Freddie Mercury puppet. His teeth are out. He's excited. I'm excited, man. Another kick-ass episode. The new backdrop is not yet here. Still going with the off-the-couch boxing one, but it will be here un mañana, which at the time of this recording, it is Thursday, September 5th. So tomorrow, I will be getting my new backdrop, colorful, badass, and I can't fucking wait, man. And, of course, DNA testing still in the works, just to give you an update on that, to prove once and for all that you're looking at the son of David Lee Roth Jr. But if you guys know anything out there, you should already be able to tell. It's pretty obvious, man. The talent, the looks, the charisma, the quaff. Damn, is all I can say. And you guys look pretty damn good, too. That is, of course, brought to you by little product placement here. If you need a hole in the ozone layer and you want strong hold in your hair, this is the stuff. We wouldn't have made it through the 80s without it, kids. But, hey, I digress. I'm excited about today's guest. Super excited, man. I can't wait. As you can see, I'm wearing the shirt, which was provided to me. Shout out to Ken Andrews, the guitarist in this band, who also sent me. He was kind enough to come on Pod Scum the first go around, and we hit it off pretty good. Sent me out a nice Obituary winter beanie, which I sported the other day because it is getting a bit nipply here in upstate New York. At least at night, and also tossed out this shirt in the mail to me. So shout out Ken Andrews. Love him, man. Love this band. I've talked these guys up to people for years. In my mind, the pinnacle of death metal right here. Right here. Say what you want. I know people will come at me with the Cannibal Corpses and the Deicides of the world. And of course, certainly respect all those people's opinions, and certainly will not discredit any of those bands. They are all fucking legendary, man. So no hate on my side towards any of the death metal bands. I love fucking all of it. But for me personally, and this is all based on my opinion, man, Obituary, second to nobody. And hopefully my guest will be in here pretty soon. Of course, you guys also know that at 51 years old, I can't be bothered with editing. So you guys can just sit around and listen to me ramble, or you can scroll along until you see his face on here and you know that we're chopping it up. But trust me, we are going to be chopping it up. And I can't wait. This guy, I'll give him his flowers now before he comes in, is a legend. Actually, the word for today, kids, is stalwart. And I'll spell it for you. Stalwart. This man is a stalwart in the death metal community, man. Having played in some of the most legendary bands, his present band, already mentioned, Obituary. Let me just run down the resume. Massacre, played in a little influential band called Death, specifically on the Spiritual Healing album, which for people that have heard me on here talk about Death in the past, my favorite album, also had the great James Murphy on that album. 6 Feet Under. Let's not forget the almost 2 decades he spent in that band. Currently, he's balancing his time between Obituary and Inhuman Condition, another kick-ass fucking band. Everything this guy touches turns to kick-ass. And he's here right now. So let's get down to it and chop it up with him, man. Dispense of the formalities. Let's get down to it. We'll get him in here. Do we got you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, just got to activate the camera. There's usually like a thing down there at the bottom there. There he is. Harry, I got to say, man, I was just talking you up and giving your accolades in my little preamble beforehand, man. And the word for today that I decided to use was stalwart. You are a stalwart in the death metal community. I like to throw out a nice little vocabulary word and try to broaden people's vernacular.
Well, thank you very much. I've been fortunate for sure.
Boy, have you. Yeah. I was reading off your resume, man, while I was waiting for you to come in here, man. And goddamn fucking impressive, man. I mean, from one great band to another. I was just talking up, your time with Death. The Spiritual Healing album was my favorite. I'm a little partial because I also love the playing of James Murphy, who I've had on here. Absolutely love him, man. But I want to work my way backwards, though, man. Do you remember specifically, man, what the artist or song or album was that really kind of kickstarted the whole music journey for you?
Well, I probably Kiss.
Yeah, there are a lot of people's gateway drug.
Yeah, I remember being like 8 years old, 10 years old, air guitaring to Strutter, so I was like, I want to be in a band like this. So
yeah. Was it specifically like something about Gene Simmons? Because obviously, man, you are a bass player, and a lot of times, no disrespect to the bass players out there, one of the most overlooked and important parts of a band, but are not always associated with kids in the glamorous. People want to be the front man, they want to be the guitarist, they want to be, a guitar hero. How specifically was it Gene Simmons inspired?
Not really. I actually wanted to be Ace Frehley at that time. I thought Gene was awesome, but it wasn't until a little bit later when I really started actually buying albums and this, getting into heavy metal that I realized, the bass is kind of like what I really like, and I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't actually even start playing bass until I was about 18. But I'm a quick learner, so it was cool. But I'm just glad I was able to have that, get my foot in the door and take off from there.
Now, you've been in, and the time has flown by too, man. A decade with Obituary now, a full decade, right? Or at least coming up on it, or in the ballpark.
A little more. I joined him full time in 2011, but I started helping him in 2010.
Right.
I was
still the first album you were on was Inked in Blood.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that one was 2014. Now, now, obviously, I mentioned the resume, so you're obviously, you're well known in that Florida death metal scene. But how do you make the connection with the Obituary guys? Obviously, they lost Frank Watkins, an amazing talent. Rest in peace to him.
Yeah, I actually grew up with him, and there's a community here called Brandon. It's right next to Tampa.
Yeah,
and that's where Executioner formed, turned into Obituary. That's where Massacre formed. Nasty Savage are from Brandon. So there's a big history of metal bands coming out of Brandon. So I went to school with those guys, and they were around the scene when I was around the scene back in 84, 85, 86. So we kind of all grew up together. And they called me up in 2010 and said, hey, Frank's out of the band. Would you like to do a tour with us on bass? And I was like, absolutely. I was kind of ready. 6 Feet Under to me was kind of treading water, and I was just kind of ready to get out of there. And so it was a perfect fit for me. I just kind of decided to step right into Obituary, and it just took off. It was great. And they knew what I could bring to the table, and it's a perfect fit. So. And
what is now that you're making, like new music, obviously Obituary just put out an album in 2023. It was obviously the Tardy Brothers band and has been all these years, and Trevor's band or whatever. But, what's the creative process like when you get together, like with the boys? Is it democratic? You guys all kind of lend ideas, to the songwriting process?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has a voice.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion, and it'll be heard. So the writing process is, if it brings something to the table and if everyone likes it, then it's a go. Trevor, John, and Donald have been there since day one.
Right.
And it's an awesome run band. It's run like a business, but everyone has a voice. It's done proper. It's definitely the cleanest running organization I've ever been involved with as far as a band. And yeah, it's just done right. And we all get along. We're like a family. We're all, we all kind of are striving for the same thing. So.
And one thing that the boys do that's really, really cool, though, is that, through Redneck Studios, though, like they are kind of like, have complete control, correct? Like everything is made in-house right there. And so Obituary, in a sense, truly has control of its music.
100%. Before I joined the band, they had a studio you know, they were practicing in the garage. They turned it into a complete Pro Tool studio. So
Hmm.
every album's been done there since probably Frozen in Time. Um, and we're in control of everything. You know, everything we put out, we're in control of it ourselves. So it took a while, and before I was in the band, they went through some hard times. They got a really horrible record deal early on, and
Yeah.
they survived that. And now it's like it's even better than ever right now. So
Yeah. That's smart. The way they do it, I think, is smart, especially in today's musical
yeah,
landscape.
totally, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
now, same question about the creative process for Inhuman Condition. Is it also very democratic there, or is there one person with the lion's share of the ideas there?
No, it's the same. If you get an idea, bring it to the table. We're all, you know, me, Jeremy, and Taylor are pretty close, and you know, your voice will be heard. You know, and that's the way to do it. You know, we're all in the game for the same prize. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
And I know you guys are about to embark on a tour, Sepultura's final tour. You're going out with one of my favorite bands. Absolutely love Agnostic Front, man. I mean,
yeah,
what a great package, man. But um, as you get older in this game, you know, older and wiser, and you've been doing this for a long time, you know, do you still like going out and touring? I mean, you know, obviously as you get older, we start to really appreciate our creature comforts a lot more, our kids, our dog, our own bed, all that kind of stuff. You know, do you still like being like that nomadic existence and going out on the road?
yeah. I like it. I love
Yeah.
playing. I love performing. I like to see people getting into the music that I've created, singing the lyrics, all that stuff. You know, watching everyone have a good time, and you're helping people maybe escape from a crappy job or whatever. They're coming to the show. They're going to escape for a couple hours and watch you play music and hang out with some friends. And yeah, I like it. I mean, it's bittersweet too because I miss my family on the
Sure.
road, but you know, at the end of the day, it is a job, and I'm doing it. But through technology of, you know, I can call home every day, and we
Yeah,
can
that's nice.
do
Yeah,
just
I
like
know.
we're doing right now. Keep in
Yeah.
touch. Yeah,
I imagine the technology, man, and like these kind of programs and this kind of stuff has really probably really benefited when you think about it, musicians the most. I mean, you know, because you do spend a lot of time on your road, and having the
yeah,
capability to do this, as you said, what we're doing right now is amazing.
yeah, and it helps out for sure because you might not be there physically, but you can see their face and you can talk to them live on the phone, and it definitely helps. You know.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about like where the Left to Die project is going. I love what you're doing there, man. I mean, you know, obviously Chuck Schuldiner being such a big, you know, I mean, really one of the pioneers of the genre. I mean, you know, so
Yeah,
it's great that you're keeping his music alive. You know, how far into the future will that continue? Do you have plans? You know, talk a little bit about that.
yeah. We actually just got home a couple days
Yeah,
ago from a European tour, and it was awesome. And you know, we're just gonna take it as far as we can, which is kind of limited because we're pulling material from the first two albums and some demos. You know,
right,
so
right.
there's only as far as you can go with that. But there are parts of the world we're going to go to. We're still going to go to South America and Australia and Japan and do a Canadian tour and maybe one more US run. I mean, there's a few more things we can do. And, you know, you never know. Maybe in the future we might try to create some new music, but right now we're just trying to bring that music to the world because back then, Scream at Gore and Leprosy, there was just a few tours for that in the US and it didn't reach all the other parts of the world. So
Right.
Rick and I are there, and Matt and Gus. I mean, Matt sounds as close as Chuck I've ever heard anyone sound like, and he
Yeah.
plays his leads spot on. And Gus is amazing, and they're both Deaf fans, and you know they love it. So it's fun to play for sure.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the vocalist, though, man, because you have had the privilege, and I would definitely call it like a privilege, man, to play alongside not only Chuck, but Chris Barnes, John Tardy, who in my mind, man, is, you know, in no disrespect to any of the death metal bands. I was saying that in my little preamble before you came on, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
For me, Obituary is a cut above everybody else. And, you know, I've seen Cannibal Corpse. You know, I love all those bands, but for some reason, you know, the vocal performance that John Tardy delivers, man, you know, there's that it's not just the growling, it's that anguish and that, like, you
yeah,
know, he does it different than anybody else. He certainly has a unique style, man. You know, talk
I
to me a little bit
agree.
about like the different styles of those guys and what they all kind of bring to the table.
Yeah, he's totally original. I mean, you know, you can't mistake that voice when you hear it. You know,
No.
and early on, like on the Mantis demo, I think Cam sang most of the songs, but Chuck started singing songs where they changed the name to Death, and Chuck's one of his big influences what was Jeff Becerra, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think Chuck improved upon that. He took it to his own, and you know, he was very, and he wanted to really pronounce the words where you could actually really understand them, but still be
Yeah.
aggressive. And I think he
Right.
pulled that off. You know, so yeah, I've been fortunate. I've been in some bands with some really good singers as well. You know, some original singers. You know, you can't mistake them when you hear them.
And now you guys are doing actually this coming up weekend, you guys are doing a couple of streaming shows, you know, from the actual Obituary
Yeah.
Redneck Studios, right? So Saturday night is kind of what, like a hodgepodge, just kind of throwing a lot of the Obituary classics?
Yeah, Saturday night's kind of like a, you know, a night where we're going to play the set list that we're going to do on the tour and throw in a few extra songs and classics and just kind of a good time. You know, anyone that's seen our streams or has been around Obituary knows that we love to laugh and party and have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do Saturday. And then that Sunday, it's like we're going to do the whole album, World Demise, in its entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will there be stuff other than just World Demise?
I think it's just the World Demise album, and there's going to be
Okay.
some stuff in between some of the songs, like some talking about the album and
Okay.
history about World Demise and this and that, you know. So
Is it difficult when the boys get together, man, to really draw on a set list because you're going taking it all the way back to Slowly We Rot in 1989? There's so much shit to
yeah,
pull
I
from,
know.
man. You know, yeah. How does that happen? Does all you know, me not being a musician, but myself or in a band, do you guys all sit down and kind of throw picks out there? Yeah, I mean, how does that whole system go?
Yeah, well, you know, there's 2 or 3 songs that are going to always be on the set list because they're
Right.
classics, the hits, so to speak. And then it depends, you know, like on this tour coming up, we got 40 minutes, which means, you know, we got about 10 songs. So 3 of them are automatically going to be on there. Then you just got to, we're doing World Demise. So we're going to throw, you know, we got to put a World Demise song on there or 2. And then
Right.
we have a new album. I mean, it came out a year and a half ago, but we're still promoting that. So you're going to play a couple songs from that at least. And that leaves like 2 or 3 other songs. So yeah, it gets, no matter what you do, you're never going to please everyone. People are going to be screaming for a certain song.
Right.
You just have to, you know, come back when you come back around on a headlining tour where you can play an hour and a half, then you can play 16, 17 songs and you can throw a little bit more in there. But yeah, it's definitely difficult when you got 120 songs and you can only play 8 of them.
I know that's yeah, slim pickings. I know, you know, but like, and so Obituary just put out their latest album in 2023. Like, you know, and I think they're still super productive, man. And still, you guys are still hitting on all cylinders, man. You know, how soon, you know, in today's musical landscape, you know, do you think about following up your last, you know, your last album? Because it used to be like, you know, you waited a couple years between albums, but now it seems like with the, you know, with the music business being so different, you know, people are throwing singles out there, you know, in between albums, they're putting out EPs or whatever. You know, is there any talk in the Obituary camp of like when the next actual project is coming our way?
We haven't really like talked about it, but I'm sure sometime in 2025 we'll start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like you said, these days, you know, back in the day when there was actual album sales, you know, you did an album, you did some touring, and then the following year you did the same thing.
Right.
But nowadays, when you're really not making very much money at all off of actual album sales, where the money's coming from is playing live shows. So
Yeah.
you know, you tour way more than you used to, and that's where the money's coming from. Your merch sales and ticket sales, blah blah blah. So you can kind of go 2 or 3 years, 4 years in between albums, you know,
Yeah.
because people are going to want to hear the classics. I mean, you know, we're not on their level, but like Kiss, you know, Kiss can tour, you know, they toured their last 20 years off the first 4 or 5 albums.
Right. Right.
You know,
yeah, that's true.
no one wanted to hear anything new because they don't want to hear the new stuff. So you can get away with it, you know, if you know, that's why we're on like an every 3-year, 4-year album cycle. So
I'm glad you brought Kiss up, man, because like one thing that's been topical the last couple of years, and I'm wondering, like you as a musician yourself, how you feel about it. You know, if you're going to go to a Kiss concert, are you the type who wants to see, you know, the mistakes and hear the genuine article and hear the warts and all thing? You know, as a musician yourself, is it cheating when they use backtracks or they use stuff to beef up the sound? Like, are you okay with that when you go to see a show? Is it kind of whatever it takes to make the performance the best?
sometimes within certain parameters. I mean, like if there's maybe some backing tracks to fill in the chorus, but the singer's actually still singing it, I don't have so much of an issue with that. But I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
cheating,
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
cheating going on, and it's not cool to me. It's like if you can't do it, I mean, singers have it the worst because you know you get older, your voice just goes even when you're talking normal.
Yeah. Oh, no, no,
And
even as a bassist yourself, though, like a guy like Nikki Sixx and Motley Crue, it looks like
yeah,
every time I turn around on YouTube, people are catching him and they're saying bullshit. He's not playing this thing.
well, I mean, yeah, I've heard those stories too that he hasn't played bass live in a long time, and I don't know. I'm not there, and
Right,
to
right.
be
Unless,
honest, I've never seen Motley Crue live, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other. But I've heard stuff about there's drummers backstage playing the actual drums where the drummer on the stage isn't. I don't know,
oh, good God.
but yeah, but
Now that's cheating.
yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can't do it, then just give it up. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way I look at it. Like I said, singers have it the worst because their voice goes, and the band might sound great, but the singer just can't do it, and it just ruins the whole thing.
Right. And I'm not trying to
And
give away any of the tips or tricks, man, but for somebody like John Tardy or other death metal vocalists
yeah,
that you have worked with, do any of them ascribe to, certainly don't divulge anything that you're not sure of, but
yeah,
do you know any of the singers that, because that's a very brutal, harsh, extreme metal on the
yeah.
voice has to be extremely rough. Are there any tricks that you've ever noticed that any of your vocalists use?
Um, Not really. I mean, John will warm up a little bit before we go on, but it's usually just a few growls here and there and kind of stuff. But he takes care of himself. Like he never sings during sound check, and during the day he doesn't really talk a lot unless he has to, just
Right.
because he tries to rest his voice. But
Yeah.
I mean, one advantage death metal singers have over you know normal singers. I hate to say that, but if a death metal singer is a little flat or a little sharp or whatever, you're not going to really notice it because he's just growling and sounds evil anyhow. So,
Yeah, that's true.
but
Yeah,
that's the
that's a
one,
good
yeah,
point.
that's one advantage they have. But yeah,
Yeah.
he takes care of his voice pretty good. So
So you've obviously toured the world. You've been all over the place. Done the festival thing, all that kind of stuff. Has there been anybody in the music world, that you ever come in contact with, where you yourself, you're such a legend in that scene? But have there been people that you've had the privilege to meet where you've been? I mean, you're a grown man, so I don't really want to use the word
yeah,
starstruck or whatever. But who have you got the chance to meet in your travels? That's really kind of bowled you over.
yeah, I'm not the kind to like run over and do a
Right.
selfie with somebody or get an autograph. But if I'm in a catering line standing next to someone, I might say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of meeting Dio and talking to him, Tony Iommi, Rob Halford. To those to me obviously are my idols. So
Huge. Yeah. Huge.
I talked to Lemmy.
Oh
So
my God, Lemmy's a
yeah,
huge one. Jesus
yeah.
Christ, that's a
I've
good one.
talked. Yeah, I've talked to him a few times, and same thing. Same thing. It was at a festival setting in a common area. Everyone's kind of partying, and he was very cordial. They were all very cordial. But like I said, I could have gone over and met other people, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to bother them. So, and I'm just not that type. So
That's obnoxious, though. You do see it happen a lot on social media, though, and I think there's this perception that if somebody is famous or has spent any time in the public eye, that like they almost like owe it to us as fans. You know what I mean? Like to be treat us some kind of a way. And it's not really
yeah,
fair because they do have their own lives.
yeah. I mean, even on our level, sometimes it's like, and obviously the fans are the reason we're there. Without the fans, we're not doing this at all.
Right.
But there is a time sometimes here and there where there's a fan that might be a little overzealous, and you're kind of just you're wanting the show's over, you kind of just want to get to your backstage room or the bus and chill out, and they're kind of up in your face a little bit, and you just have
Yeah.
to remember they're excited, they just want a picture, and so
Yeah.
yeah. But
Well, all
sometimes
you
it
guys
happens.
collectively as a band, though, like all seem pretty gracious to the fans, and obviously you talked about
Yeah.
like how interactive you guys are willing to be and give us a sneak peek into the studios and the whole the rehearsals and the live streaming shit. I've had Ken on here before, a fantastic
Yeah.
guy. As a matter of fact, we hit it off pretty good. He sent me an obituary beanie. He sent me this shirt that I'm wearing right now. Great guy.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
amazing
He's
dude.
cool. Yeah, he
Yeah.
is.
And have you given any thought to and of course we don't want you going anywhere. The obituary fans don't want you going anywhere. But have you thought about like retirement or like when the finish line is for music, or do you just kind of say I'll do it till the wheels fall off?
I haven't thought about it. I just thought, well, I'm just going to do this until one, no one wants to hear it anymore, or two, I just get too old, whatever that is. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, I
Well, it's
don't really
obviously
think.
very physical what you do, though, man. Like from a physical
Yeah,
standpoint, though, man, you're not doing it in your 20s no more. I know I'm 51 years
yeah.
old. Myself. How do you physically feel? Obviously, you're up there banging your head. It's a physical
Yeah.
kind of. How are you? Health wise, do you feel the aches and pains of all the years of doing it, or do you still feel pretty good?
Some nights I do feel the aches and pains. Some mornings when I wake
You
up,
don't
but
gotta tell me.
in general, I still feel good. I mean, I love to get up there and play, and I still feel good. I don't feel like I'm losing a step, so to speak. I feel good. I'll just keep doing this until something happens.
Well, you've been metal since the very beginning, man. And one thing that really infuriates me, man, and there are guys out there who have really flown the flag for metal and they've never wavered. They've never been on any projects that were anything less than fucking brutal and relentless style. But do you think in the pantheon of metal, man, that extreme like metal, really gets its dues and is taken seriously for the art and the craft that it actually is? Because I think sometimes, man, it's and I'm not saying like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame type shit or anything,
Yeah.
but maybe I kind of am saying that though. I mean, like, where are the accolades like for what you guys do? Because it is very punishing, it is very brutal. You guys aren't able to go out and do 2-3 hour sets because of how harsh it is from a physical standpoint on the voice and on you guys and how relentlessly you play your instruments. Does death metal get its proper due? Or extreme music in general?
Not totally. I mean, I can't even watch anything that used to be called MTV or any of these music awards or anything because it's just to me trash. It's all just overproduced. It's computer, it's AI stuff. It's not even any kind of artistry, in my opinion, going on. And people that are out there really creating art musically, they get nothing. I mean, within their genre, within the fan base, people know and appreciate it, and they know that. But like the general public, they're just spoon-fed stuff, and a lot of times they just take it. Unfortunately, I don't think there's ever going to be like a black metal award given out at the Grammys or whatever.
Not a bad idea though, Terry. Not a bad idea.
But I mean, it's hard to even the heavy metal category is a joke most of the time, anyhow, too. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, even like the hard rock, I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they're a joke most of the time.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
But,
I mean,
I don't know. Like I say, it's like heavy metal, death metal, all the subgenres and offshoots. It's just like a virus. It's a disease. It won't go away.
yeah.
Sometimes it might look like it's kind of not there, but then it comes right back. It's just like a rash. It's going to be around always, and you just have to deal with it.
As a music fan yourself, though, like from a fan standpoint, because I'm guilty of this too, and doing the podcast has certainly helped me because I've tried to give a platform to younger bands and try to explore my Apple Music platform and try to branch out a little bit and follow the algorithm and see if I can get into like newer stuff. But when you have time to sit and listen to music from a fan standpoint, are you one of these kind of guys that kind of like leans on your old favorites and it's hard for you to get into new music? I find myself doing that too. I find like if I've got some time during the day, I'm going to go to something that I probably listened to back in the fucking 80s.
Well, yeah, that's what I do all the time. That's my, yeah. I mean, I might hear something new here and there that I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. It's just hard for me to get in fully like an album of 12 songs of something new, unless it's a band from the past that I really liked or whatever. And it's nothing against that band. It's really good music, but it's just, I don't know if you want to call it jaded, but to me, the best music was made in the 70s and 80s.
It is jaded. Yeah,
early
we were jaded
90s,
for sure. Yeah.
and that's just what I listen to. That's my wheelhouse. I'd rather put on Mob Rules and crank that than
Right.
something new. Just in my opinion, it's no disrespect to the new thing, but it's just just
It's
how
very
I am.
difficult. It's very difficult with the streaming platforms too, because I read somewhere the other day that there's like, and I've shared this with other people on here, that there's like upwards of 30,000 new songs, on these platforms every single day. So it's not for
Oh yeah,
lack of music, they're oversaturated with music, but it's picking and choosing and finding good music. As you said, there's a lot of overproduced stuff. There's a lot of stuff that isn't even worth, even worth listening to.
yeah.
So as a member of a band, because I noticed with the first couple of Inhuman Condition albums, he kept it to 9 songs, and I was almost laughing because I thought, wow, the first 2 albums were both 9 songs. I'm like, is that the magic number for an album nowadays? You put a lot of thought into, because obviously gone are the days when you could put on a Metallica album and get 75 minutes of music. People just aren't paying attention like that. They're just not paying attention like that anymore.
No, see, 10 songs to me, 10 songs is perfect. I mean, like the
Yeah.
first, I think like Leprosy and Spiritual Healing have 9 songs on it. I think, maybe 8 or 9 songs on each album. And that's fine to me, because you start losing interest. If you're sitting there and an hour later, you're still listening to some songs from the same album, to me, I kind of start losing interest,
Yeah.
it kind of starts repeating itself. But I think to me, the perfect album is like 9 or 10 songs, and the songs are about 3.5 to 4 minutes long. You're in and
Yeah.
out.
Keeping it around 35, 40 minutes. Yeah.
To me, if you look at all the classic albums that I love, like I mentioned, a Black Sabbath album or Dio album or Rainbow or UFO or Slayer, or any of the just this, they're 35 minutes albums. You know what I mean? They're that's it.
Right.
That's all you need.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of that point, you're going out on tour with Agnostic Front. They've had whole albums that were over in 15 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That punk hardcore music, man, like they're in and out, a minute and a half,
Exactly.
done, just a blur of speed and ferocity, and then they're calling it quits.
That's it. That's how you do it.
That's such a great tour package. And I've noticed Agnostic Front, though, man, like years ago, like they went out, Cannibal Corpse took them out too, man. How do they end up on these bills? In the death metal community, man, are they one of those, you're trying to add some diversity to the bill, man? Is that kind of the move, to grab a hardcore band and give people a little diversity on the bill? I mean, obviously it's Sepultura's, headlining tour, but I mean, obviously some thought went into putting that combination together.
It's a little more these days than it used to be. That tour, I know there was an Obituary Cannibal Corpse Agnostic Front tour.
Yep.
And
that's what I think I'm thinking of. Yep.
We stayed they stayed friends with Obituary since then. But like a lot of death metal early on took some of the speed and aggression from the hardcore scene for sure.
Yeah.
Like the first CRI album, the first COC album, the energy on these albums, the blast beats, that taken from that is what kind of put the speed into the death metal thing for me. A lot of bands too, but it's a little easier nowadays to do a package where you could do like Obituary, Terror, and Enforced. You can throw a metalcore or a punk band on there nowadays. It's from the crossover. All this has happened throughout the late 80s and 90s. It's acceptable now, and there's some good music for sure in there, and there's something for everyone,
Yeah. I'm really glad you threw the word Enforced out there, man, because they're a band that I really, really love. You know what I mean? Like, they're really doing their thing. They're awesome. They're an amazing band. I've had Knox, the lead singer, on. Yeah. I mean, they're a ferocious band. I love them, man.
Yeah, they're cool for sure.
And so do you find it difficult? Obviously you got a family, you got priorities outside the music business. Do you find it time? Obviously, Obituary, you would probably call Obituary, your main gig, or is it kind of split between that and Inhuman Condition? Like, how do you prioritize the time as you get older? Trying to find so much time, and there's so little hours in a day.
Yeah, Obituary is the main gig, and
right.
And even like Taylor and Jeremy, like Taylor's in DSI, that's his main gig. You know what I mean? So when we find time, it's like a puzzle when you can move some pieces around and fit in 2 or 3 weeks worth of shows. We try and do that. That's just where we're at right now. So, it gets a little, your brain starts hurting sometimes trying to figure out all these dates ahead of time. It's like, well, what are you doing next October? It's like, well, that's too far in advance. I can't.
I mean, maybe I won't even be alive.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so the Inhuman Condition guys are spread about, or or they're near you in your area?
They're close by. They're about an hour away.
That
They
helps.
live up like north, west a little bit. Not very far at all. I can get there in 45 minutes to an hour. No
Yeah.
problem.
You still get the same charge creatively, though. Yeah. You know, I just had Craig on from Forbidden yesterday, and I asked him, you know, as you get older, you know, is it hard to tap into still writing that music that has that ferocity and that aggression as you get older? Because sometimes we do mellow out as we get older. But then again, there's a lot of shit to be fucking pissed off about in today's world, too, though. So it is probably easy to draw
Oh
from the
yeah.
well of inspiration.
There's a lot of things to make me angry these days,
Yes.
but
It don't
but
take
no,
much.
it's like you just, you know, sometimes when you go to write music these days, you have to say, okay, I want to write like this, and then you say, okay, well, that sounds like a song that could have been on Screen by the Gore in 1987. Do I want to put that on this record in 2024? Are people going to say, oh, that's too old school? Do I try and throw in some new kind of things that are going on now in music? Maybe some keyboards, some of the female vocals going over the top of my vocal, that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, you have to say, okay, this is the band we are. It's like in Human Condition. We are a band that wants to play music that sounds like it's from 1988. That sounds like it's a mixture of Leprosy and From Beyond thrown in a blender, and that's what we do. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, then awesome, thank you. But you know, that's what we want to play. And you know, we don't want to go out there and, oh, let's write music that's something that sounds like what's cliche today, you know.
Right.
So,
Right. And what's your own personal creative process like? Like I know with, you know, when you get together with the guys, I asked that, but just you, if you're home alone and you want to write or you want to create, do you have some type of do you got to isolate yourself? Do you got to be alone? Do ideas come to you like throughout the day? You know, do you got to go off somewhere or like create some type of an ambiance or like a setting or something? You know what I mean? Like what's your own individual process like?
well, you know, it's funny because sometimes I'll be driving and I'll have something will just pop into my head, and I try to remember the rhythm that I was doing or something, or try and jot it down real quick on some paper.
Yeah.
Then I'll find like
Create the car.
there's 30 different little pieces of paper laying around my room with little ideas on it. But sometimes I don't really have my own studio or anything. I just have to kind of pick my spots. I can come on the front porch or back porch where it's a little quieter, maybe work
Yeah.
something out. Yeah.
Yeah. So for people that want to get, you know, before I let you go here, man, if people want to check out the Obituary thing, well, they just go to Obituary's website. Is that how they watch the live streams this weekend?
You can go to our website and follow the links from there, or you can go to any of our social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and go follow the links from there too, as well. Yeah.
And then people can get their asses to Obituary's fucking website and find out how to come and actually see you guys live. I'm a little upset because I've had a couple of back surgeries and long car rides don't suit me too well, man. Wish you guys were coming a little closer, but I will tune into one of the, I'll probably tune into probably Sundays because I have my grandkids this weekend and I know I won't be able to peacefully watch on Saturday night, but I think I'll watch the World Demise one on Sunday night though. So I think that'll be one that I'll tune into though. And I'm looking forward to it. And way to make us feel old. Has it really been 30 years since fucking World Demise?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Boy, oh boy, that's going to depress me for the rest of the night now. I'm getting old, Terry. We're getting old.
I know.
But listen, man, I really appreciate you making the time, man. You know, certainly please stay in touch, man. Hopefully I had a really enjoyed talking to you, man. Hopefully when you guys come off the road, we could do it again, man.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, really appreciate it, Terry. Great talking to you, man. A fucking legend, man. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Yep, good talking to you, brother. Yep.
All right. See you
later. There he goes, folks. As I said, a fucking death metal fucking legend. That is the great Terry Butler. Let me run down the resume one more fucking time in case you didn't listen. You listening back there, Freddie Mercury? You were only in one band. Granted, it was fucking Queen, but pretty damn good resume himself. But it wasn't Massacre. It wasn't Death. It wasn't 6 Feet Under. It wasn't Inhuman Condition. And it certainly wasn't Obituary. So take that, Freddie. That is the great Terry Butler, bass player for Obituary and all those other bands that I mentioned as well. Right now, Obituary and Inhuman Condition, those other bands, obviously bands that he was in. But right now, the focus is Inhuman Condition. And as he said, the main gig, the boys right here, Obituary, man. The preeminent fucking death metal band, the beacon that shines light down on all the other death metal bands. No disrespect, man, but Obituary, the name, the vocals, the musicianship, the unmistakable fucking tone that is the mighty Obituary, man. Second to none. And Terry Butler has been in that scene every step of the fucking way, man. As I said in the beginning, a stalwart, a fucking legend, man, a pillar in that death metal community down there in Florida, man. So really appreciate him doing it, man. Another fucking killer episode of Pod Scum is in the books. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook, and make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay tapped into the best conversations with people in the arts and entertainment industry that you will find anywhere, man. This is the place to come to watch these dudes chop it up, man, with the mighty one, Reckless Rex Ruger, aka Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Let me remind you again, DNA testing will prove it soon. But I have no doubt, and you shouldn't either, man. Just look at this quaff, the quaff of Roth. Second to none, man. Just like Terry Butler, just like fucking Obituary, man. We're all fucking legends. Me a little bit more in my own mind, but I digress. Thanks so much, Terry Butler, man. Remember to stay tapped in, man. And like I always say at the end of every one of these little episodes, remember, kids, take it easy and keep it sleazy.